So today I'd like to start with meditation, and I'm going to bring an element from, I guess it would be from my yoga days, kind of, into this. Usually I don't stray very far from the early Buddhist texts, but during the retreat this past couple of weeks, it was really useful to offer a little bit of guidance or lead some simple qigong movements, and also the topic was the 7 factors of enlightenment. And one of the qigong sequences I like is related to the chakras, the 7 major energy centers in the body. And I decided to put those 2 lists of 7 together. So I'm going to offer guided meditation that includes all of that. And I think for anything that got added after the Buddha's time, whether it's our commentaries that we make nowadays when we talk about the suttas, or meditation techniques that get developed, I think we just need to see if they're useful to us. And sometimes it feels to me like, even though I use anapanasati, mindfulness of in and out breathing, as my mainstay practice, it can be helpful to bring in some different approaches. And of course, the Buddha gave us so many himself that we can use, but also maybe a little more creativity for ourselves to see if there's something that can bring a little more, maybe a different element, or a little more zest to the practice, something like that. So find a comfortable position. And there's always plenty that's going on in our lives to set aside when we sit to meditate. Not to bypass it, but to just recognize that when we sit down to calm the mind, it's okay to set things aside that are very important sometimes, and it's all right to take that time to really relax. And Ajahn Ganha said to us in our last visit that meditation, samadhi, is like breathing in oxygen. We need to breathe in the calm, the peace, the stability of the Dhamma. And when we breathe out physically, we let go of the toxins and any kind of impurities that can come through the breath, carbon dioxide. And when we meditate, we can let go of worries, let go of stress. So as we bring our attention to our body, the first thing we want to do is establish mindfulness. And these 7 energy centers of the body, the one at the base of the spine, often referred to as the root chakra. If we think about mindfulness associated with that energy center, then it is really our basis, really our stability, our foundation. So when we bring attention to that area of the body, that foundational part, you might be aware of sitting on a cushion or a chair and stable in your posture, mindful and present. And the color that's associated with this chakra is red. And red is often used to get our attention. The stop sign, the ambulance, fire truck. The attention that we bring with mindfulness really gives us the opportunity to know, to see, to be present with whatever is occurring. We can be present with the body. Just notice any tension in the body. And invite it to relax, let go. And noticing any tightness in the mind or the particular state that the mind is in. This morning we've been hearing about things that are joyful, things that are scary. There might be any kind of feeling arising, the whole range. But as we meditate, as we observe, we can have that bit of distance from those feelings and observe them with kindness, with compassion, with understanding. And as we do that, as we investigate the state of the mind, we're already into the second factor of awakening, Dhamma Vijaya, investigation of Dhamma. We observe the state of our mind. That chakra is in the abdomen. It's related to creativity and investigation. And when we're investigating with Dhamma, we're open to learning what we haven't known before. Letting insight arise. One way to think of it is listening for truth, listening for a perspective on what we experience that comes from wisdom. And the color there is orange. And just feeling that area of the body, feeling into what all of that means right now in this moment. Investigation of Dhamma, and openness, allowing creativity, intuition, spontaneity to be present. For the factors of enlightenment, this Dhamma investigation brings up energy. And as we bring our attention to the third chakra, it's in the solar plexus. The color is yellow, and it's about energy. Energy and wisdom. power, energy and power. Very appropriate for virya, the third enlightenment factor. So with our mindfulness and our openness to investigate and our energy, we have a kind of force developing in us. Strong platform from which to observe our experience, to be present and awake. And also relaxed. And from this place of energy and this openness, we can be aware of any pleasant feeling in the body, any pleasant sense of spiritual energy in the mind. And this is where the enlightenment factor of piti, joy, happiness, arises. And the next chakra, the chakra that's related, is the heart. So, of course, when we feel love, when we feel metta, we feel it there in the heart area. My experience of feeling piti, the joy that comes from the spiritual energy, the arising of the Dhamma within us, is very, very related, closely connected to the feeling I experience with the development of metta, loving kindness. So here in this heart center, noticing any happiness, joy, can even just be the joy that comes with being mindful and present. Piti. Sometimes it can feel very strong. Sometimes it's quite subtle. And when we put our attention on it, it tends to blossom. And the color associated with this heart chakra is green. I can think of it as a blossoming in the springtime. Fresh growth. And of course, this piti can spread through the whole system and all around us and everywhere in the same way that metta can. It's energy. It doesn't know the boundaries of the body or the limitations that might currently exist in the mind. Also, this spiritual energy is not bound by death or separation. Ultimately, there is no separation, only nibbana, that which does not change. And this is what we touch into in meditation. In the development of these awakening factors. And the next chakra up is the throat chakra. The color there is blue. The next awakening factor in the list is tranquility. From the piti, the uplift of the heart, comes peace and tranquility. And the throat chakra is related to communication. In meditation, our main focus in communication is listening. We usually think of communication being the side where we put the words out into the world, but listening is equally important, maybe even more important. And the tranquility factor is such a significant support to communication, to hearing, to speaking. And for our development on the path, the tranquility, the calm of the body and the mind make it possible to experience samadhi, the next factor. And the next chakra is the third eye, which is an ideal match for samadhi. That center that's related to those altered states, those states where it's possible to see beyond the physical world, beyond the conventional reality. The color there is a indigo or cobalt blue, a color that people report they often see in their meditation. And finally, at the crown of the head, we have upekkha, the highest factor, equanimity, that ability to be stable, unwavering, regardless of what comes, regardless of contact that we find pleasant or unpleasant, beautiful or not beautiful, even the wholesome or the unwholesome. The equanimity is unwavering, undisturbed, unshaken. The color there is purple. It's intended to represent the highest level of spiritual engagement. As far as the enlightenment factors go, they all work together. When they come to their complete fulfillment, the next step is Nibbana. And we can just notice how the body feels, how the mind feels, being present and aware. And all these dimensions of existence, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, they're all related. And we can bring them into balance. And find that support to be able to be present and wise in our life, in whatever life comes after this one. And when we do that, when we have that balance, that awareness, and there's also this presence of kindness and love. Beyond all sorrow, distress, suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings be blessed. May all beings find that stability and realize Nibbana. So I thought I'd bring our attention a bit to equanimity today. And how do we develop it? I think we develop it as we go through our life if we put our attention on, like, how am I doing? What's happening in this moment? And how can I step back from it enough to be able to allow it, embrace it, see it in the bigger context? The Buddha was a master at helping people do that. I think about the young mother who brought her um, dead child to the Buddha. And he helped her see the bigger context. This is how life is. And it sounds like Ajahn Chah too, saying to that man whose wife and 7 children had passed away the day before, this is the way it is. It sounds heartless on the face of it, but it didn't sound that way to that young mother, and it didn't sound that way to that man either. It came from a heart that was so full of loving kindness and wisdom. And also, I know for that man, that villager, he had been hearing the Dhamma for his whole life. And as soon as Ajahn Chah said that, they said his whole countenance cleared. It doesn't take away the fact that he missed his family. There's still grief, but it takes away the element of resentment about it, the element of it shouldn't be this way, the fighting against it. And it also introduces the reality of connection that doesn't become shattered by the change, but continues. I know that's been the case in my life, feeling that with loved ones that have passed away. It doesn't feel like they're gone. But the connection is, of course, different. You don't see them anymore. But their presence somehow is still not far away. It's hard to talk about ultimate reality in any case, even apparently by those who have directly experienced it in their practice. And for many of us, we've probably touched into it at different times in meditation, or maybe in our own reflection, or in those times when death is very near. We know that it's near. It's near all the time, but we're not aware. But when death is very near, that can open something up for us to be more for me, in a way more present, more real, more uplifted spiritually. Something very profound in it that goes beyond this conventional reality. And what part does equanimity play in this? the practice of equanimity being something that we can use all day, every day. How do we handle the small things that disappoint us? How do we handle the challenges of being bored or irritated, or having to do things we don't like to do, see things we don't want to see, hear what we don't want to listen to? How we address those, how we handle those. We have opportunities that come along constantly. All those things that are listed, in the text, the sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair, having to deal with the things we don't like, having to be separated from what we love. All of that we have this every day. Every day we run into these things. And then we have this opportunity to step back and really, establish our mindfulness. Have that investigation of states, that Dhamma Vijaya, be open to whatever we're feeling, whatever we're experiencing. And the other factors, of course, and equanimity being, how can I be with this without letting it invade my mind and remain? How can I be with it with wisdom and compassion? And, if it has invaded our mind, which is something that I know it happens to me and can happen, I think, to any of us, then to see that, oh, this has really taken hold and I'm obsessing about this. Can I step back and trust awareness and observe? And then see if that changes the mental state. How does that change it? How can we develop a trust based on these factors of awakening, that whatever happens, we can be present with it. That there is something beyond this conventional reality, ultimate reality that allows for everything. It's an interesting reflection to see, like what is it like to step outside of the black and the white and the good and the bad. Like Ajahn Chah saying that Dhamma is above bad and beyond good. That all of this samsaric existence can be held in observation and compassion without being awash in it, overwhelmed by it. So when we come back to the practical, to really like moment by moment attention that we can bring to what's happening now, And we can settle ourselves in awareness in the present moment. And that from that position, it's possible to have this love and respect and kindness that goes beyond the kind of sense of self that always is looking for our own gratification. And all human beings have this capacity, I think. At least maybe that's not, I can't verify that, can I? But I think that it's a natural human capacity to reach beyond um, this this sense of self, this personal identity. And we see it in so many examples in the world, the way we care for each other, especially when things are difficult, especially when um, there's danger or there's uh, great need, how people can rise up out of that and do courageous things for others, even at their own risk, and have a real sense of that joy in being beyond the confines of our self concerns. And we can experience this in our daily life. The times when we really set aside our own personal wishes and we reach out to help others. Sometimes people describe it as like being in the zone, taking care of something that really is beneficial for someone, and letting go of um, our own desires. And in that, having a real sense of purpose, a real sense of happiness. And my sense is there's a tremendous equanimity there. Again, it comes back to those times when it feels like death is close by. It can be then during those times. A kind of peacefulness inside. I think I'll stop there, and I'd love to know if you have any stories to share or questions or comments around this topic.
Um, I'd like to say something. I can't find my little hand to raise.
Oh, okay. We
Uh,
will go ahead.
Sorry, I'm a little bit still spacey, like technology is challenging, but I so appreciated that guided meditation. Again and different and just so powerful. But I wanted to share that in the past year and a half, I was with my mother when she passed. and then my mother-in-law last fall. And it was a very powerful experience, particularly with my mother, because I was right by her side. And when she passed, I just felt the first thought that came to, and maybe even out loud that I spoke it, I just said, "You did it, Mom." Because she had so clearly said that that's what she wanted, that she was ready. And so it was not a sad moment. It was very uplifting. And yeah, so that was very affirming um, of letting go into the unknown. Um, and then with my mother-in-law, I wasn't right by her side. I'd been doing a lot of the hands-on care, but I stepped away. I didn't feel like it was so intimate. I felt like I should be in the other room with her passing. And we knew it was just very close. And I was looking through a little photo album of her, and there was this picture of her. I think she was standing like on the Empire State Building or something like that. But it was like foggy behind, and it was just like she was beaming with the most beautiful smile. And I felt like, oh, you're an angel. And it was just like, again, I just had this beautiful feeling of love and release for them after their, you know, it's hard dying. So it was beautiful. But anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you. It reminds me of um, when my mom was dying, and it took a long time. And I just, I realized, we talk about birth as a miracle, which it is, and death is also a miracle. How this sort of spirit consciousness comes into a body and is born into this world, and then how it leaves the body and goes on to the next phase. Um, and I just felt I was there with my mom at that point, night and day, and I just felt like, yeah, we're waiting for the miracle. Patty?
So I guess the question I have is, um, given the current state of affairs in the world, and the prospect of um, the U.S. getting drawn into another conflict, I mean, I think the question for me is maintaining equanimity in the face of something like war. Um, that seems like a pretty big task. And especially as it comes up with fear. Without going into too many details, I have several immediate family members um, who are in the military, and that sort of thing. And I know, that's just me and my own inner, like, immediate circle, to say nothing of the pain and suffering that something like this it's already happening. Um, yeah, I guess my question is, how do you deal with that, the fear, and just maintaining a sense of equanimity, but obviously, you know, being against it, against more
Yeah,
killing and suffering.
yeah,
That's my question.
yeah. Yeah, it's certainly a huge practice. It's certainly, this is what we practice for. This is what Anne was saying, we practice with all of the sort of mundane kind of, you might say, when you're thinking in these terms, trivial things that come and go all the time. We practice with, being present and aware, being aware of what's going on in our body, being aware of what's going on in our mind, being aware of our feelings. We learned how to restrain ourselves from, actions by body and speech. And we learn how to restrain our thoughts, our obsessive thinking. This is all practice. This is all the practice. And when things happen, whether it's some, kind of isolated thing, like, when my daughter was, in this very bad car accident, and, my son at one point got hit by a drunk driver when he was crossing the street with his bicycle, and when these kinds of things happen, then, this is what the practice is for. How I can be with this situation and observe all these feelings coming up, observe the fear, observe the stress, observe the anxiety, and then you start to see that you have a separation from it. The observer is not caught up in these emotions. The observer is not drawn down into the fear, like this resentment perhaps, or whatever other kinds of mental states might be happening with regard to the situation. So what does that give us? First of all, it gives us a refuge, because that awareness is Dhamma, is Nibbana here and now. It's the cooling of all of that intensity. So this is where equanimity is so apparent, that we can be present with what we're experiencing without being caught up in it. And, according to the Buddha, according to the Arahants, realizing the true nature of reality doesn't mean that you never feel those things again. You just know that they're passing phenomena. It's not like you just kind of say, oh yeah, that's okay. It's all empty. It's all passing phenomena. That's not the point. But you realize that these things will come and go in conventional reality again and again and again and again. Even war, even famine, loss, injustice, aggression. And what we have the opportunity to do from that place of equanimity and observation and the stability of the Dhamma is to bring up those beautiful qualities of peace, understanding, compassion, wisdom. Equanimity is the way that we work with what's unwholesome. Recognizing that there are results that are caused by our actions. And when whatever people are doing, there are reactions. There is kamma, there is vipaka kamma. It's not like we have to settle some score. Nature takes care of that itself. And so what we do in the moment is whatever we can do. That is, leading to peace, to caring for each other, to protecting each other, to encouraging each other in what's wholesome. And we can do that from that place of inner stability. So that's really our our work.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Mayra?
Thank you. I just wanted to, I'm not even totally sure what I want to say, but I wanted to say something. And like that, what's happening as I'm here today is a lot of metta and compassion, maybe more than equanimity. When I was driving home from the retreat, I haven't been listening to the news yet, but I had been thinking about personal stories of people. Cynthia, I was thinking about you a lot, and just feeling the sort of the truth of both parts, like of the spiritual part and what's beautiful about that, and the personal part of partings.
Mhm.
Just sort of allowing those feelings to move through. And there was something also beautiful about that I really just want to include, the personal part of partings and loving, and the, and the truth of the bigger spiritual perspective that's both a mystery that maybe we have a clue into, that I think is very, very beautiful. And I was quite supported a little bit by music driving home.
Mhm.
Um, a particular song I was listening to a lot that's about crossing over, that was very, just touched my heart deeply. And then I was having these experiences of, I met like several different people that I had these really deep connections with, people I'll never see again, but just like connecting along the way and feeling just also the power of just, individual connections,
Yeah.
and I felt the impact of my practice with each of those people. And I knew something important was happening because of what they said.
Mhm.
And there was just something really moving about all of that. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to include the tenderness of that part today. And yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you, Mira. It's beautiful. So true. Yeah, the practice doesn't ignore the feelings. It doesn't ignore the tenderness. It doesn't ignore grief. It doesn't ignore, it certainly doesn't ignore love. It is love.
Yeah, I really felt that it is love part. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling that.
Yeah. Thank you. And, this Dhamma that we develop in ourselves, and it goes with us for the whole trip, like we pass away from this existence, and either we have full realization and then it's nibbana, or we meet a lot of more people and I have more opportunity to practice and more opportunity to love and more opportunity to develop and share that connection. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so the time is, oh, go ahead, Anne.
I just wanted to say that, as Mira was speaking and as I experienced, that level of intimacy and connection in the Dharma is a miracle and a gift, both. So I just want to call that out as we're about to leave. And this is just a beautiful Sangha. So thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne. So true. Yes, Neil.
Yeah, sorry. Also, as Mayra was speaking, I was very moved because she was reminding me of the teacher who really first brought me into Buddhism. And I know he's not a popular name anymore, but Trungpa Rinpoche um, talked about the tender heart of the warrior. And I always remember the tender heart of sadness. I remember when I read that in one of his books that my heart opened up and I understood for that brief moment what it was that we all share. Um, uh, and I just wanted to thank Mayura for
Yeah.
what she said because it brought me back to that moment for a moment.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Regina. See you soon, I hope. So, thank you, everyone.